We go into the latest here. Arsenal are the favourites, and it is in their hands because Bruno Guimarães wants to go to Arsenal. However, this is what Arsenal are doing right now. Arsenal have agreed all details of personal terms with Bruno, and new official bid will follow. Arsenal to offer 70 million quid. Newcastle expect to reject, but Arsenal feel they can get it done. Arteta pushing, he wants Bruno. Now, unfortunately for Chelsea, Bruno also wants Arsenal. Bruno's 28. He turns 29 years old in November. He belongs in the Champions. He can walk into almost any team in world football. I think he's that good. He's brilliant, Bruno Guimarães. Scores goals, gets assists. He's a leader, and he's everything you could want in a midfielder. Now, the thing with Arsenal is Arsenal are trying to put the moral high ground out there this summer. They're saying, nah, you know what, this market, it's just very overpriced. Inflation, nah, we're not buying it. You know, we're Arsenal, we can do what we want. We can offer this much because we're Arsenal. Well, unfortunately, boys, it is a very expensive market. You got Somerville going for, what, 70 million to Saudi Arabia? The Saudis are backsplashing the money as well. But Arsenal reportedly don't want to go higher than 70 million quid. So Chelsea, and again, Bedad Egbali, this is a moment. This is an opportunity. If you want to get Chelsea back to the upper echelons, if you want to get Chelsea back at the top table, if you really want us to be competing for the title this season, which considering Pep Guardiola is gone from Man City, that's going to be difficult. As much as they've still got an amazing team, they've bought Elliot Anderson, they've hired Enzo Maresca. Man City will not be the same. Arsenal, as Premier League champions, this isn't just blue-tinted glasses. They're some of the worst Premier League champions I've seen. They're chaseable. We can get there. We've got one match a week. We've got no Europe. We've got Xabi Alonso. We've got Cole Palmer back fit. Esteval back. We've got players back from injury. Reece James looking good after the World Cup. This is an opportunity for Chelsea to look at this season and be like, we need to double down. Last season was atrocious. Yes, there's still a lot of players that need to be sold. But Bruno Guimarães, man, if Chelsea were to go and get Bruno and hijack this Arsenal transfer, if we hijack this deal, I'm starting to look at Chelsea and think, you bring in Lacroix, you bring in Morgan Rogers, you bring in Bruno, go and get another top centre-back maybe. Why don't we go and challenge for the league? I'm serious. We should be. And I know that people will be like, Benson, no, you're getting carried away. Chelsea Football Club, the amount of money we spent, if we get it right now, with Xabi, with a full week of training.
Now, Bruno Guimarães, let's go into what we've heard today on the socials, right? What the latest news is, and then I'll explain. Here it is. Chelsea are not expected to enter the race for Bruno Guimarães, or for Newcastle Bruno Guimarães. No approach or bid has been made. Right. Let me be completely straight up, okay? And let me be completely clear. To say that Chelsea have not even been in the room is disingenuous, right? That's not true. From what I understand, that's not true. However, is what we're hearing now legit? It's a briefing. Does this mean that Bruno to Arsenal is not going to happen? No. Let me be frank and let me make it clear, right? Arsenal have the control here. They have the keys. But they've not picked up the keys. This is the whole problem. The whole thing is that they've not been willing to go over a certain number. That's their whole issue. This is the whole hold-up. If not, Bruno to Arsenal would have already happened. Because of the hesitancy, like it was witnessed with Morgan Rogers, Chelsea are there. Simple. Now, let me give you an example of where this has happened before. Not in so much of the case of a team's just not willing to pay and we're just waiting around, but where we've been told one thing and then the opposite's happened. Here it is. Do you remember this? In late May, when Newcastle and Liverpool have both shown an interest in Brighton striker João Pedro, Chelsea have not held any talks and are not exploring a deal, said Ben Jacobs, right? Pedro could leave this summer, but Brighton will be looking to make a big profit on then club record £30 million they paid Watford. What happened? I'm actually glad that we're hearing what we're hearing, right? I say glad, I'm kind of not, right? Because I don't like briefings. I don't like PR. This is why. This is why I've gone in and I'm going to try and find out for myself. However, here's exactly, like I mentioned yesterday in the priority. If Arsenal put more money on the table, it gets done. It gets done. Bruno wants Arsenal. The whole hold-up is Bruno waiting for Arsenal. Arsenal have not been willing to go over a certain number. Ben Jacobs said yesterday, a number that starts with 7 is more than likely not going to get a deal done. True. Newcastle, like I've already said, want 85 million. Are Arsenal willing to do that? Now, if Arsenal wake up this morning and go, yeah, you know what, screw it, let's do it. They're going to do it. They're going to get it done. They're going to get Bruno Guimarães, right? So that's that. But if they continue to hesitate, this is a matter of timing.
Chelsea's transfer window is beginning to gather serious momentum, and one name has suddenly moved into the spotlight once again. According to the latest reports making the rounds, Bruno Guimarães has emerged as one of the standout midfielders being discussed as Chelsea continues searching for elite reinforcements before the new campaign gets underway. While nothing has been officially completed, the conversation surrounding the Newcastle United star is growing louder. Chelsea are believed to be assessing several high-profile midfield options, and Bruno's experience, leadership, and Premier League quality have reportedly placed him among the names under consideration. Today's update takes a closer look at where things currently stand, why Chelsea admire the Brazilian international, what Newcastle's position could be, and whether supporters should genuinely expect movement in the coming weeks. Bruno Guimarães has established himself as one of the Premier League's finest central midfielders since arriving from Lyon. His ability to dictate possession, win tackles, break opposition lines with accurate passing, and contribute goals has made him one of Newcastle's most valuable players. That is exactly why any club hoping to sign him faces a huge challenge. Chelsea's recruitment team has spent recent windows trying to build a younger squad filled with players capable of competing for years. However, the club also recognizes the importance of adding experienced leaders who understand the intensity of English football. Bruno fits that profile almost perfectly. Unlike players who need time to adapt, he already knows the demands of the league. His energy, technical quality, and tactical intelligence would allow him to slot naturally into Chelsea's midfield. Reports suggest Chelsea's interest is genuine, but interest alone is never enough in deals of this size. Newcastle remain determined to keep one of their biggest stars. Eddie Howe has repeatedly spoken highly of Bruno, describing him as one of the foundations of his project.